Hello, everyone. Lisa Story here with Hope Grows. We are sitting in the sunroom of the Iris Respite House, and we have here today with us Christine Haythorne from the Parkinson's Foundation. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. It's so wonderful to have people on site here at Hope Grows and, just sharing what our information about what we do and how we connect with caregivers and to let them know that, we're here. We're here to support and help. And so a little bit about Parkinson's Foundation and Hope Grows. We've been collaborating with the Parkinson's Foundation for quite some time, and more recently we've ventured into a joint project together to provide family caregiver coaching for caregivers of those helping somebody with Parkinson's. And it started last September, and we are currently over 50 caregivers and their care receivers and supporting them through this program, which, hopefully we'll talk a little bit about today. But I also want to now turn it over to Christine, and you can share with everybody, who you are with Parkinson's and what you do and a little bit about Parkinson's.
Sure. Again, my name is Christine Haythorne. I'm the CEO of the Parkinson Foundation, Western Pennsylvania. We provide services, education, exercise, and programming to people in our region who have Parkinson's disease. But it's important to note that Parkinson's disease, like many diseases, becomes a family disease. And so we also try to provide support to caregivers. And starting with our partnership with Hope Grows, we're trying to focus more on the caregiving side because it can be a long, difficult journey through Parkinson's disease. And it certainly takes a toll on the caregiver as well as the person with the disease.
Oh, I know. It truly does. You just see the exhaustion in the faces. Exactly. And I think the exhaustion is just not from the caregiver, it's also the care receiver.
Absolutely.
And I think this is why the family caregiver coaching program is working out so well, because the counselor that's working with them is working together with them, and it becomes a couples intervention. And I don't mean just couples, through an intimate relationship. It's couples, it could be, father and daughter, it doesn't have to be, an intimate couple that's a part of this program. So anybody that's caring for someone with Parkinson's, they can both be involved in that. And what I like too is that we go into the dimensions of loss with this program and also support and help with grief. And I think that's a huge component because it can be missed.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting at the start of the program, we had so many people who I think were reticent to think about a counseling program. And so the initial people who signed up were people who were truly clinging by their fingernails with their lives.
Yeah.
And it's been such a joy to see them bloom throughout the program and acknowledge the difference that the counseling has made in their communication and their dealing with the disease. And it's really, really wonderful to see the folks who are continuing with Hope Grows after our program. I think we're going to have to spread the word about the successes that we've had initially and make sure that we continue the program. It's become a permanent part of our programming now because we see the benefits that Hope Grows brings to our organization.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I agree. There are quite a few caregivers and their care receivers that are, signing up for our other services here at Hope Grows, but we've seen that too. We have seen just a transformation of not only acceptance, but a transformation of just empowerment.
Right.
And I think that's the important piece of what we do here at Hope Grows is that we provide them an avenue for empowerment.
Right. And
once anybody in life feels empowered, in anything that they're dealing with, it's transformational. It's transforming, I think is the word.
Well, you mentioned grief, and I think, one of the very difficult things about Parkinson's disease is in the later stages, it can often include dementia. And so you of course mourn your spouse or your partner after they pass, but there's an element of grief that happens while they're still alive, where you've lost your companion or your the person with whom you converse.
Right.
And you just watch them go before your eyes. And I think
Yeah.
you all are doing wonderful things and helping our folks through that.
Thank you. That, there is a term for that, and that's anticipatory grief. And
Right.
that's where we just experience just little bits of losses along the journey, even before death. And, it is hard. It's hard to accept. And I think too, Parkinson's hits couples and families at that time when, couples are ready to just have fun in life. They're at the end of their careers, they're retiring, or they just have retired, and they're just it's like that time to go on vacation or to go visit or do whatever, and then all of a sudden this hits. And it's like, wow, everything that I had planned for is now different.
Right.
And how do I even navigate the waters with that?
Right.
Yeah.
And it can be such a long journey that even if you start the journey with a lot of financial resources, you don't typically end the journey with a lot of financial resources. So the fact that we can partner together and do this for free for people in need is a huge, huge benefit to our population.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, that we've had that a couple of times. The question coming at us a couple of times: what's this costing?
Right.
And I'm so blessed to be able to say nothing.
Right.
Just your time,
Right.
And your energy. And it's. I think that's just you just see the face change. It's like, and the body sort of starts to relax, and
Right.
yeah. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the family caregiver coaching program that has started in September. I know that you have started at Parkinson's an all caregiver support group, and most of, or if not I don't know how many, a good portion of your caregivers coming into the program have been a part of the family caregiver coaching program.
Right.
And, the counselor that has been implementing the program is also helping with implementing this support group. And I've heard that, it's just wonderful. Can you touch upon your first group that you've had with this?
Sure, happy to do so. We had our first meeting this week, actually. And I wasn't aware initially until I joined the call that many of the people had been through the program with Hope Grows.
Okay.
And
Wonderful.
the nice thing, there are challenges in this pandemic, but the nice thing is that we can have a virtual support group for caregivers only, where they are in a safe environment and they can share their frustrations and challenges, but they can live anywhere in the city and they can do it from the comfort of their home. And we were so delighted to see that I think as a result of having been a part of the Hope Grows family coaching program, the team bonded immediately. And, sometimes what takes groups weeks and weeks and weeks of meeting together to get to was achieved very early in the program, and they're offering ideas for content and topics and looking forward to getting together again.
Yeah. I think because it's building a community. It's building a community of support, with people that have experienced the same program.
Right.
And, we're finding that with a program that we're doing with the Jewish Association on Aging with another grant-funded project that Hope Grows had developed. And it's the same scenario. These individuals that have gone through the program are now meeting as a group, and you're right. The immediate trust and connection that's built from the start is miles ahead of where another support group would be.
Right.
And, and I think there's something to be said for community. That community support is so needed.
Right. And on the caregiver side, there really aren't a lot of resources. I mean, other than Hope Grows and what we're trying to do for our population directly for the caregivers, I'm unaware of any really good resources in our area. So it's so much needed.
I think so too. And, we hear that a lot here at Hope Grows, that we offer something that not everybody is doing. And I think we are looking after the emotional and mental well-being of that caregiver. Right. And it doesn't matter who you're caring for, because we're not disease specific. So we can help caregivers from, all spectrums of need. And, I think it also has something to do with our location. We are surrounded by beautiful healing gardens, and I think that and property to walk on. In fact, I had a caregiver stop yesterday morning, and she is caring for somebody with Parkinson's, and yeah, we sat and we chatted, and she was just wanting so badly to get out and walk, on the trails and through the gardens. And, even though we've had a thaw come through, it's still a little muddy and such out there. But so she's like, I'll be back next month, hopefully. Hopefully it'll be a little better. But yeah, it does. It takes such a toll. And I think it's the environment or the connection or just the spa-like atmosphere that we're creating here, I think is another part of, the success that we're having.
Right.
So, yeah. So, Christine, if you don't mind telling me, what's inspired you to want to work in the population of Parkinson's and do what you do?
Sure. I spent my career in the financial services industry. I was an investment banker. So, but I have a grandmother and an uncle, both of whom passed from Parkinson's disease. And I knew I wanted to do something different in the latter part of my career. And this opportunity came. It seemed like divine guidance to take this position with the Parkinson Foundation. And I know how difficult the journey is. And we have been able to develop, I have a wonderful staff, and we've been able to develop programming that's kind of new and unique in the market, even across similar organizations across the country. We're doing some pretty novel things. And my pleasure comes from watching the difference that our staff is making in the lives of these folks. We see them connect. We see them feel the caring and watch the need for that caring. And we hope to provide through Hope Grows and other vehicles opportunities for them to feel like a community and gather together and support each other and participate in programming. Exercise is key for the Parkinson's community. And, it's very difficult in a period of this pandemic because people with Parkinson's are naturally prone to depression or apathy. And in periods of isolation like this, it gets really, really difficult to find the motivation to do things.
Sure.
So as we see virtual programming take off, or communities form, or support grow for each other, it's really been quite a pleasure to feel like we're making a difference in their lives.
Yeah, that alone is inspiring to hear.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that. It divine guidance.
Exactly.
I love when I hear that because I know the story of, how this all got started here with Hope Grows, and, it was divine guidance that led people, I think, and for the most part, people that are working in that type of helping environment are led to that for passion or for a reason beyond just a paycheck.
Right.
So yeah, thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Do you have a caregiver story that that's near and dear to your heart that you would want to share?
I was thinking about this, Lisa, and I have so many, I don't know where to begin.
Wow, okay.
But one that comes to mind happened rather recently. And this couple, the husband had Parkinson's disease, and it was a long, difficult journey. And his wife, he was diagnosed early onset. His wife had a lot of difficult years as a caregiver. And he was one who started down the dementia path and ended up having to go into a facility. And then COVID hit. And his wife couldn't visit him. And but had wonderful caregivers at the facility who, through the use of Zoom and FaceTime, would enable her to have conversations with her husband.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
When he did finally pass, she was able to spend his last few days with him. But, I look at her and I think, boy, what a long, drawn-out, difficult journey. And it would be perfectly understandable for her to have walked away from the very disease and all the programming that we have because it was so difficult. And yet, within a week, she was back attending groups, reaching out to others, knowing how difficult her journey had been. Her new goal is to do anything she can to share information and provide comfort and support to others going through the same thing. And I think she kind of embodies the caregivers for this disease.
Wow. Almost like a mascot.
Exactly.
Now, paying it forward. That's the ultimate in just paying it forward, I think.
Right.
Wow.
It's such a difficult disease. I think anyone who's ever experienced it will find a way to help. And when you look at our board, our young leadership board, the people who work at the organization, our volunteers, they all have been touched by this disease, and it's become a life passion.
To continue to support. Yeah,
Right.
that's wonderful. Oh, thank you for that.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. When people ask me that question too about caregiver stories, I think, oh my gosh, there's so many. There's just so many that touch your heart.
Right.
You know, I'll tell you a brief one. You know, every year we do our Celebrating You event. And up until, last year, it was held at the Pittsburgh Botanic Garden. Last year it was held online, and surprisingly, we had more people attend.
Right.
So, I think there's something to be said for that, too, because of this, I can't leave my care receiver.
Right.
So they're able to attend from the comfort of their home, and I think we're going to continue on that path. But back to this caregiver story, a couple of years ago, we had a gentleman called to want to come, to the event, and he was questioning and asking, what activities to sign up for. And he said, should I attend the one that's for makeup, learning how to put on makeup? He said, because I'm caring for my mother and I don't know how to do it. I thought, oh my gosh, is that amazing or what? Like to put yourself so far away from who you are to be able to be what you need to be for that person.
Right.
It's just, that I know the day that call came in, all of us in the office were just in tears. We were like, oh, it touched our hearts so much. There's just so many wonderful stories,
Truly.
just wonderful stories. But, so thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
You touched a little bit upon a personal caregiving story about your relatives, a couple of your relatives. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. My grandmother, who had Parkinson's disease, actually lived with us. So for many of my high school years and even into middle school, I did take care of her, and I saw how difficult the journey was, and it truly was a family disease. And that was the start of my caregiving experience, but I've since had the privilege and honor of caring for my husband's mother before her passing and my mother before her passing. And I think having done that, it makes you more empathetic toward the journey that other folks are on. And it's lonely. And it's you question your decision making. Am I doing the right thing? Am I being the kind of advocate that I need to be for this person? And I think that makes it that much more important to have a community of support around you. And I thank Hope Grows yet again for all that you've done to help create that environment in our population.
Thank you. And I think we reach the caregivers where they're at.
Right.
And I think that's why we're having success with it, because there's not one model that's going to fit every caregiver.
Right.
Because every story and every caregiver is different. And we approach it that way. You tell us, you're the expert in your life.
Right.
You share with us what you have going on, and we'll do our best to meet you where you're at.
Right.
And I know just this past year, and I'm sure it has something to do with the COVID year, but we had a 70% increase in support. We went, yes. At the end of the year when we pulled our stats together, I went, oh wow, now I know why I'm tired. I need a break. I'm caring for all these caregivers. No, I'm joking, but not really. I mean, we went from the end of 2019 supporting 412 or 418 caregivers to this past December in 2020 up to 712.
Wow.
That's, 70%. It's just, there's a need, and the referrals coming in are they just keep coming. They're not stopping. So I think word has really gotten out as to who we are and who we're collaborating with. And,
That's amazing growth. Congratulations. But I think your observation is very correct about the virtual environment. No matter what happens going forward, it's, being together in person cannot be duplicated.
No, you're right.
There are always going to be people who can't get out, and we can't abandon them in the market.
Right.
And virtual is here to stay, and it's a great addition to our
Same here. Yeah, I would have to say the same. Yeah, I do think though we're going to have a handful of people that are just going to want to come back out. You know, I miss it. I miss being with people. I miss interacting in person with
Right.
people. Okay, so I think we're kind of wrapping it up here, and kind of just summarizing maybe everything that we've talked about. But one thing that still kind of pops into my mind, and I like to know this about those that we speak with on a regular basis, is what's the most important thing that you've learned about family caregivers and working with them?
I would say that one, they are desperate for help and care, and don't know where to turn to get it. So providing resources and answers is key. But the other thing that I think came as a little bit of a surprise that I think will take some doing on a combined basis between the two of us is kind of giving permission to find self-care, because I think there's a certain amount of feeling that nobody can take care of my loved one the way I can. Only I can do it. They feel guilty in leaving and getting the respite care that they need.
So true.
And I think the Parkinson's Foundation needs to do a better job of promoting the services that are available to caregivers and giving them permission to take advantage of those services.
Yeah, very, very good point. And my response to when I hear a caregiver say, no one can care for him the way I can or her, and I always say, you're right.
Right.
You are right. No one can. Absolutely. There is no one better out there. However, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be there to care for him or her. And I know that's like a radical acceptance. Like when you hear that, the first reaction is, oh, but it is so true. And that's still one of the things that fuels my passion for helping caregivers, is that the statistic still of caregivers dying before their care receiver because of the strain and stress is still what makes me get up in the morning and do this work.
Right.
I can't say enough about that. And you're right. Caregivers need to be reminded to do self-care, and they need to be encouraged and given permission to do that.
Right.
And and I think moving forward, you're right. It has to be a combined effort in the healthcare industry to speak that.
Right.
And I don't think it's just speaking it on a family caregiver level, but also a professional caregiver level.
No doubt.
Hope Grows has built into their model where we close 4 weeks out of the year.
Right.
And I did that basically for self-care. We need to practice what we preach.
Right. We've all been through periods of exhaustion, and you're not at your best. You're short-tempered. You say things you don't mean. And I think, that certainly is true in the caregiver model. And maybe somebody else coming in for a little bit and taking a few breaths will help everyone.
Right. And even if it's coming in for a little bit while you're still there.
Right.
I know there's that comfort level of leaving the house and leaving the property, but, we teach here mindful breaks without even having to leave your home or your care receiver.
Right.
And hopefully if we continue with that, those snippets of time throughout the day that we're encouraging and empowering caregivers to take can be the first step.
Right.
How can our listeners contact Parkinson's?
We'd love for you to reach out to us. We have a new website that has a fully baked calendar of activities on it that is very easy to access and sign up and register for events. And that website address is pfwpa.org. And our phone number is 412-837-2961.
So thank you for tuning in to our podcast and our, sharing as partner of the month. I'm just so overjoyed that Parkinson's came on board again this year to be one of our partners of the month. And, we look forward to continuing our programming with you guys and just, being a part of helping and cultivating, caregiver wellness. Basically that's what Hope Grows is about, is cultivating caregiver wellness. So thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to connecting again.